Good morning once again. Today's Thursday, September the 29th, 2022. I'm in the mood to talk a little bit. Yeah. I have certain pastors that I follow. I don't always agree with them, but I have grown to love them. I highly respect them, and as the saying goes, it is what it is. I tuned into Bishop T.D. Jakes the other day, and as a matter of fact, it was yesterday. And when I was going through the channels, and I always like to hear the sermons, I saw a woman kneeling. I figured that, I didn't know who it was, and I figured it was a congregant member, and they wanted to be blessed, and he was laying hands on them. It was so much more than that. I just did a podcast about being marginalized, about Black folks being marginalized. Another group of people that's in that space that are marginalized are women, and not just any women, but Black women, very, very marginalized. Not only are women marginalized in society, but they're even more so, and mostly so, when it comes to the religious space. So I tuned into the Potter's house, and I saw something very, very wonderful. I was in bewilderment, actually. Now, I know if you guys watched it and everything like that, you might think that it was over the top and it was so dramatic. But if you know anything about TD Jakes, that's who he is, I can relate because, I am like that too. But I'll tell you why, in my opinion, it had to be like that. It was a big thing, right? Um, he bequeathed his church, the Potter's house, to his daughter. I want you to know how big that is. And I want you to know how and why it is that he went over the top. In church it's always dramatic and laying on the stage and all that. That was a bit much for me. But I looked deeper than that. And he gave her a torch and everything. Something like a Tyler Perry movie, you know what I'm saying? But it had to be symbolic. That was the whole premise of it. It had to be symbolic. And I just wanted to tell TD Jakes how proud I am of him. I'll tell you why. Because from ever since the inception of the Bible, women has always been marginalized, not just in Christianity, but also in Islam and all other religion, they have women as something, as an afterthought, you know, that women don't really matter, that the only thing women can bring to the table is being a breeder. We don't have an upstairs. We don't have the mental capacity to do anything else other than bringing children into this world. In other words, we're just like a cow, no? He's going to get a lot of feedback, some of it negative. Um, a lot of it is going to be from men that can't get past. Well, see, what some pastors don't realize is that the only reason that you think that way about women is because you were taught that way. And you were taught that way about women from a book that was written by men, marginalizing women and teaching other men how to marginalize women. What the bishop did is groundbreaking, because to me, what it showed women, you matter. It showed black women that I see you. Daughter, I see you. Son, I see you. Do you know how important that is for a father to see his daughter? It's so important, because I can tell you, as a black woman, not being raised and not having a father, how very detrimental it has been for me. Not only for me, but what people don't understand is that when there isn't a father and a man in the home, it doesn't just affect you. Let me show you how much it affects. If you're a black woman and you don't have a father in the home, if you have children, then your children don't have a grandfather. Your children can't even call, Granddad, I want to go by Granddad. Is Granddaddy coming over? I want to go by Granddad. You know, with grandparents, they have another level. It's true. They have another level of love for your children. Grandchildren are able to get away with things that we would never be able to get away with, right? You'll be looking like, Mom, when we did that, you jumped down our throats. When they get older, just maybe they've gotten wiser. They've you call it softer, maybe, but maybe they started to look at life a little differently. as they've grown older, they've gotten experienced. When there isn't a man in the home, it affects a lot. And what Bishop T.D. Jakes did to his daughter is he made her relevant in front of the world. When you look at it, you might see it's like a play playing out. It kind of was, because you have to understand the space that he's in. There are some churches, they used to put on plays and they used to have the dancers, excuse me, the dancers and everything. So I understand it was kind of a show, you understand, and the falling down and all of that. And I looked at the meaning of it. I looked at what that portrays to little black girls everywhere. It showed them that you do matter. Because the way it used to be portrayed is that God only loved men, right? That God only spoke to men, and that women should not be praising God. And if you do, God forbid that you do it in public. You want to go up to the pedestal and do what? You want to go up to the podium and you want to share your love about Jesus, about God. How dare you? You're not supposed to do that. That's sacrilegious. You're not supposed to praise God openly. That's just for the men. You're not you're not good enough. You're not a man, ma'am. What do you think you're doing? You're sinning against the church. After all, it was the church that made the rules. You're breaking the rules, ma'am. T.D. Jakes, you broke the rules, sir. Sir, pastor, bishop, you broke a very cardinal rule. How dare you bequeath your empire to such a lowly species like a female? Pastor, I want to say thank you. I followed the Jakes for a while, and I don't know what he went through to get to that point in his life, but I do know one thing. I do know two things. I know he spoke to God about it. I know he prayed about it. And I know that he spoke to his wife about it, Miss Sarita. I don't know if she helped him make the decision or he had made the decision already after speaking with God. I don't know how he came to the decision, but I do know that he had to confer with God before he made that decision. He's going to get a lot of people against And, and that's one of the things that he was telling his daughter too about social media. He was telling her about the haters. He was telling her about there's sometimes that you're not going to want to speak, and you're not going to want to preach the word of God, but do it anyways. Do you know what it would be like to have a father like T.D. Jakes in every black home? But he's not just a father, he's a grandfather too, right? And I think that what he did was so symbolic and so eye-opening, because it showed men that you can't just bequeath your business or your empire solely dependent on the factor of the gender. Oh gosh. Then if you got children, and if you got 4 boys and 1 girl, you look at each of your children, but you see that it's your daughter that has the most and the most potential in keeping your company afloat, your business, your empire, your legacy. Oh my God. Do you know that because of the chauvinistic thinking of men, the male ego, they would not give the business to their daughter? She might be the most capable, but it doesn't matter. What disqualifies her is her gender. Many of companies have been ran into the ground because of sons, their drug abuse, their lustful behavior, their gambling. Meanwhile, the daughter, she's all about business. You know, women, right? They're driven. It's all about business. And I'm not saying that women are perfect. I'm just saying in some cases, they're just more qualified to do the job. But because women have been discriminated so much in the secular space, so much, there's so many restrictions put on women. They can't do this. They can't do that. They can't say this. They have to dress a certain way. They have to look a certain way. Case in point, what's going on in Iran right now. And I have a warning for men. Let me tell you something. There's only 2 human species on this earth. Man and woman. What's going to happen, and what do you think is going to happen when the only other human species that you need to survive, to live, is being treated in such a manner that they probably won't even want to have children anymore with these men. So in order now, so you have to look at it, right? Because the women in Iran, they are rebelling. They're losing control of their women. But you should never want to control a woman. What you need to do is to love her and respect her. You see, when you do that to a woman and you make her feel safe, women would naturally and normally submit to a man. But too often, when I look in spaces where Islam and Christianity is prevalent, they have a way of thinking about women that are so diminishing to the spirit. It's like women are invisible in those spaces. It's just the men. It's just like, see me, don't see her. She does not matter. So what TV Jakes did to his daughter, he looked around and he saw that she was the most. But sometimes it's not even, listen, every parents know their children. Parents know their children. Let me blow my nose, excuse me. If you have a business, you already know who you want to take over your business. You already know, ma'am, sir, who would be the best fit to take over that business and keep it afloat. The women in Iran are cutting off their hijab. They're cutting off their hair. I don't know if you know the story, but the women are so pressured into a narrative that was set for them. If you're born in some countries as a woman, you don't have any freedom. If you're born as a woman in some countries, you are automatically put in a lower class status. If you are born as a woman in some countries, you are automatically marginalized. In some countries, as a woman, you cannot leave the house unless you are being accompanied by a male. Notice I said male and not man, because you don't have to be a man in order to qualify to be her keeper, to be over her. You just have to be male. That means you can be 12, 13, 14. Yes. You just have to be male. And that's why I said, that's why I'm so proud of TD Jakes, because he knows he's going to get blowback. He knows they're going to come after him. They're going to come after him in the manosphere. They're going to come after him in the secular world. He knows this. Before he made his decision, he knew this. But I'll tell you something about TD Jakes and about the pastors that I follow. There are a lot of good ones out there. There are a couple, eyebrows raising ones, big question mark, and others is like absolutely not, exclamation point. But he has been talked about a lot. Know why I follow him. He know what it feels like to be talked about in a very negative manner. And listen, I watch those videos too. The ones that talk about him, the ones that denigrate him, the ones that put him down and pick apart everything that he's saying to make him look bad. I watch those. I just want to see, exactly what they're talking about. And yeah. But he carries on. You just keep going. That's inspiration, to keep going. It's not easy to be talked about in a negative manner whilst you're doing something that you're passionate about and you love doing. It's not easy, but it's also it's inspiring to understand. He's been beaten down a lot, that man, and his daughter is going to be beaten down too, just on account of him, who her father was. Oh, you're TD Jake's daughter, okay. And so, do you understand? Listen. So sometimes, a lot of the times, people might come against you, not because of you, but because who your father was or who your mother was. And I got all love for that sister, and I'll support her. Because she has an uphill battle. What's her uphill battle? She's a woman of a mega church. We're not just talking about, you have your little churches and you got past the evangelists, this and we're talking about a mega church that's all over the world, that's internationally known, the Potter's House. Now, in the secular world, what he did, he was not supposed to do that. He was supposed to bequeath it to a son, to a boy, to a male. He says, this is what I'm thinking. He says, I'm not going to do that just based on gender. I'm going to give it to the child that I think would be the best fit In other words, you don't even have to be the most qualified. You just have to fit that role. Be the best fit for that role. I see in the past few years, what I've seen is women stepping up. They've been marginalized so long, and the men were scared to put them in front because they had to toe the line. They had to listen to what other men were telling them. Another daughter I want to point out is Dr. Tony Evans' daughter. That's a powerful woman. She's powerful. Would he bequeath his church to her? I don't know, but I think that's the best fit as far as I'm concerned. I've heard her. I've seen her. And she came forward more and she showed more of what was inside of her after the mother passed. Because I didn't know her. I didn't see her. And one thing that T.D. Jakes said to his daughter, he says, I need to decrease, so you must increase. Too often, we find in certain spaces that the parent want to compete with their children, with their child. You should never have that. You should never have that. Make a space for your child to flourish, to succeed. In white spaces where you have a man with an empire and he's very wealthy and he's very rich, you will hear stories of the son killing the father or doing certain things to get his father out of the way just so that he could inherit. Make room for your children so they don't covet what you worked so hard to get. Give them a space where they can do their own thing. Because if you don't give them that space, they're going to want your space. They're going to want your space. And sometimes they will do anything to get that space. Know when it's time to step down. I say that in the religious space, but it's also in the political space, right? And you look at the political space, we have these aging politicians. Our own president, how old is he? He's in his 70s, right? Where is the space? Where is the room for the younger people? You know, the thing is just that sometimes when you've been at the helm and you've been the captain so long that you think that if you give someone else the wheel, the ship is going to sink. It's going to capsize. You have to relinquish that will. You have to relinquish that leadership role. You have to believe in your successor. Have you not taught them well? Have they not been under your wings for you to raise them up? And I was so proud of the bishop for doing this, because it says a lot. It said a lot. And my hope is that men could start seeing women in a different light also. That we're more than just breeders. We're more than just someone to sleep with. We're more than just your maids. We're more than just someone to cook your food and wait hand and foot. We're so much more than that. The fact of the matter is, you men know that you can't survive without us. Who's gonna do all of those things I just mentioned, but is that all that you see us as, We're so much more than that. You come to us with your problems. We're your friends. We're your therapists. We're your psychiatrists. We are your best friends. On top of everything that we do for you, we also are everything that is not seen. We are the unseen. It's funny, isn't it? We are the unseen, and we do so many things unseen for our men, but yet still we're invisible where it really matters. And I think the women in Iran, they just say, just see me. My love for you has nothing to do with what I'm wearing. And God made me this way. He made my hair to grow, to show. I wasn't born with a hijab. I wasn't born with a covering. When I came out my mother's womb, I was naked. You as a man say I should cover my hair to be virtuous. You as a man say I should wear only black to be virtuous. You as a man say I should cover half my face. You as a man. God never told me that. God told me you are my child and I love you just the way you are. And that's what I try to say, and I just never like the religious aspect of things. You think if you don't wear a certain thing, God is going to love you any more or any less? The same God the same creator that made a Christian made a Muslim. He is the creator. The same person, the same creator that made a Hindu, made a Buddhist. Do you think that he loves you any less? All of these things and these sects and these different religions is man-made. It's man-made. The Creator loves you regardless. He loves you regardless. I want you to know that. I have been touched by him, so I can tell you that it's all lies. He doesn't love you any less because you're a woman. If it's anything, because you're a woman, he might love you just a little bit more. Because you are who he tasked with to carry on, to be the vessel, to bring another one of his creations into this world. You, woman, you. So funny that when anything happens, they always go to the mother, right? Who's her mother? Who's his mother? They always go to the mother. But then you're going to someone who's invisible. You're going to someone who you have deemed in society doesn't really matter that much. Who's marginalized. She's a woman, so yeah. You get that. You get that a lot. It's the discarding. Oh, she's crazy. Oh, she's always like that. Oh, she's this or she's that. I'm so happy that women are now coming forward more. You know, I had a dream a while back, and I think I shared this on my podcast before. I think it was in 2020, and some podcast that I took down. But I saved, and it showed me that God was going to elevate women to another status. He's going to elevate them. I had this dream, and I'm seeing it happening. Listen, because of the erroneous teaching of men to other men, they're not going to be able to understand this new era that's coming in. What's happening to women around the world is not the women themselves, it's the Creator doing this. I want you to understand. God is going to elevate women because He has seen how we have been treated, how we've been abused, neglected, marginalized. He's going to say enough is enough, right? You've seen it in Iran, you saw it in Saudi Arabia, you've seen it in Afghanistan. And what the men are going to do, as if they've always done, they're going to retaliate with force, because that's all men know how to do. That's all they were taught. They wasn't taught how to look at women as their equal. Rest in that. Imagine you as a little boy growing up in a home and you see how your father treated your mother. Treated your mother like a second-class citizen in their own home. He taught you how to do the same thing. Excuse me. That father, and that's why it's so important, right? You see it all over social media, in the manosphere. Oh, I'm the man, and I'm the this, and I'm the that. I'm just like, you act as if you're God. You're right, you're a man, but I'm a woman. Now, when I say look at women as your equal, I'm not talking about physical strength or anything like that. I'm just talking about equal humanely, equal as a human, equal enough to be validated. So many women are invalidated, even in the workspace. Because if I went to school to be a doctor, a pediatrician, and a man went to school to be a pediatrician, why is he paid more than me? Shouldn't we have the same pay? What are you telling? What is that? What does that do to a woman's psyche? Why is he paid more? Because he's a man? So what do you want me to do? It makes women feel like as if there's something wrong with them. Do you understand what that feels like, to know that because you wasn't born with you wasn't born a certain gender, so you're going to be treated differently. You wasn't born a certain color, so you're going to be treated differently. You wasn't born looking a certain way, so you're going to be treated different. All of these marginalizations and discriminations were man-made, all man-made, and they're to keep us divided, and they're to keep us apart. And one of the things that, if you watch that with Viola Davis, the movie Warrior, what is it? Warrior King, King Queen. I'm sorry, I don't know the movie, but you understand, right? It's to show women that you are valid. You do. We see you. See, we as women, we see each other, but it's the men that run everything, right? So even if we see each other, doesn't matter unless the ones that are in charge see us too. You understand what I'm saying? So when Bishop showed his daughter, I see you, I see how you've been living. I know you. To choose a daughter, wow, that's all I can say. No, we're just gonna watch and see what others have to say about that. You're gonna hear it from others in the secular space about how he was so wrong to do that. How he's sinning against the Bible, went against God, and did he really went against God, or did he go against the narrative that other men put out there? I choose the latter. Going forward, you're going to realize how important women are. As a child, growing up in the home with a mother, you know, if it wasn't for your mother, you wouldn't be able to eat, have clothes on your back. You see, when a woman has a child, she doesn't look at the child as our responsibility, like she doesn't look at the father. One of the reasons why is because while that child is in the womb of the woman, something happens to her, right? Something happens to that woman. It's psychological. It's more of, this is my responsibility. Even though she didn't have it by herself, she had help, but she's the one that's carrying this burden. It's her responsibility. She takes the responsibility of carrying it, to birthing it, to raising it. When the child is in the stomach, and that's what people don't understand, that's what men don't understand, right? It's a psychological thing that happens. I was watching a video the other day on YouTube, and it talked about a parasite going into another insect, and it was able to manipulate the other insect's way of thinking, and it would guide the insect away or to or from, and I started looking at, maybe that's the way that thing inside of us, growing inside of us, maybe that's what it's doing. It's dictating to women what it wants, to eat, what it wants to smell, what it wants to do. We don't have control over our bodies when you're carrying that 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 other creation. If you smell something and he don't like it or she don't like it, you can't be around certain things, you can't be around certain smells, and it's different for every woman, because that creation that you're carrying inside of your body is dictating what that woman wants. She don't have control over her body. You don't get that? Yeah, we don't. So when we bring that creation into the world, We're responsible for it. It has already manipulated our brains into caring for it. Take care of me. The message is the same while we have them inside of us. You're going to take care of me. And our response is yes, automatically. So when the child is birthed into the world, it's just instinct that women, mothers, and when we don't see other mothers have that same inclination and instinct to protect, to care, to take care of, right? We wonder how. Because you know that you are so protective of your own. You see it all the time on the news, or this mother or that mother. To be a woman, it is a wonderful thing. It is hard. It is hard. Even harder to be a black woman. And I won't change it for the world. And I just hope that men and fathers going forward would just take a second look. Take a second look at the women in your life, in your lives, and just realize there's so much more to them than that narrative of their being breeders and someone to have a release with, your sexual release. And there's so much more than that. There's so much more than that because they have to be. They have to be more than that in order to be the vessel and the incubator for the greatest thing in this world, which is a human being. So just think about it, Don't let, because she's a woman, because she's a female, don't let that deter you from making the right decision of who you want to bequeath your business, your empire, your legacy to. Too often and for too long, women have been disqualified just based on their gender. They're very capable, more than capable, but that didn't matter. That doesn't matter. All a man sees is on the outside. Ah, she's a woman. She wouldn't know how to do this. She wouldn't know how to do that. Isn't it funny? We wouldn't know how to do that, but we could do everything else. But the very thing that you do, that we help you to do behind the scene, where it's unseen, we're not capable of doing that in the big scheme of things. How ironic. You don't want to fight with women. You do not want to fight with women. It's not a good space to be in. As a man, you will realize that without a woman, a lot of things won't get done. With a good woman at your side, you can scale the heights of the heights. With a good woman at your side, she will make you feel like you're invincible. You don't believe me? Get you one. And when you do, cherish her. Don't marginalize her. Let her know that she's valid. Let her know that she is valid in Christ, in God. Let her know that you see her. There's nothing wrong with a woman loving God and professing it out loud. And I am so glad that we have some forward-thinking pastors that understand that and understood that. Why shouldn't a woman praise God? Did he not make her also? So I end this by saying that I'm very proud of you, Pastor. I know that I don't know if it was an easy decision for you to make, but I know that you had to confer with a higher power to do so. And after doing so, you made this choice. And I must say, it is a good choice. It doesn't even matter what I think. Why? I know it doesn't matter what no one else thinks, because you went to God. And if God gave you that answer, it doesn't matter what no one else thinks. That's between you and God and your wife. And I say this not just for me, but for other women out there, other little black girls. Thank you. And I'm proud of you for making that decision. You know, I love you, Pastor. I love you, sir. Take care.